with the title of Accountancy Research. Our first speaker today is Mr. Omar Albasteki, with the paper title of Enterprise Risk Management, Assessment of Environmental and Social Risks from ERM Perspective. Mr. Omar, you have just 15 minutes to present your work, and then we'll open the floor for questions and discussions. Only 5 minutes. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, professors, doctors, ladies and gentlemen. The presentation will be about the literature review chapter of my research titled Enterprise Risk Management, Assessment of Environmental and Social Risks from ERM Perspective. The supervisors of my research are Dr. Amama Shaukat from Brunel University and Dr. Thaira Shirawi from Ahliauniversitybh. My presentation will be about the literature review chapter, and it will be to the point in accordance with the allotted time by the organizers. The research objective is to fill the gap which appears in the enterprise risk management papers and literature. Some of the identified gaps are as follows. None of the ERM frameworks discusses the environmental and social risks and how they can counter operational risks, financial risks, and create opportunities. Researchers are concerned that ERM practices are implemented on superficial level to meet corporate governance and regulatory requirements. There are no guidance in the current ERM frameworks for assessing the nature and extent of risks faced by organizations, whether these risks are appropriately managed and appropriately communicated to stakeholders. The ERM frameworks use different and inconsistent measures and indicators. It's difficult to compare apple to apple when comparing one framework to another and arrive at convincing solutions. The study will contribute to the existing literature as well as to the environmental and social risk analysis, management, and reporting literature by analyzing the company's E&S, which stands for Environmental and Social Risk Assessments, management and reporting policies, processes, practices from an ERM perspective. Allow me to go through some of the historical background of enterprise risk management which have been identified in the literature. In the 1800s, according to Watson and Head in his 1998 article, the development of probability calculations in the insurance business during Industrial Revolution impacted upon the idea of risk management. The earliest known reference to risk management was said to have appeared in 1956 in an article by Russell Collier in the Harvard Business Review. In the early 1980s, witnessed the emergence of the need for an integrated framework for risk management in accordance with Stephen Ward in his 2013 paper and Miller and Waller in their 2003 paper. In the 1990s witnessed the evolution of ERM frameworks, and the late 2000s witnessed there many scholars and academicians conducted a lot of research on the subject. Many corporate failures, such as Enron, financial scandals, academician arguings, insurance, and shareholder demands, expressed a need for a more professional approach for risk management. The key drivers behind the improvement of risk management and the development of frameworks are regulators and government agencies, such as Turnbull Commission in the UK, Treadaway Committee, and Cadbury, which all sought a formal organization and wide integrated framework for risk management. In the 2000s, many frameworks appeared. The most famous enterprise risk management framework called COSO, which have been created by a committee of sponsoring organizations. Other famous frameworks are CAS, which stands for Casualty and Actuarial Society, RIMS, which stands for Risks, Insurance and Management Society, the Australian and New Zealand Framework 4360, which was created in 1994. And the last created framework was the ISO 31000, which adopted the Australian and New Zealand standard and improved it using the ISO methodology. There are new dimensions in ERM which I have identified in the literature. Mainly, there is a lot of emphasis these days on the management of environmental and social risks rather than only economic risks, which have been the focus in the past of the frameworks. And there is also an emphasis on the impact on sustainability, and the key drivers, in addition to the existing literature and accommodations behind these new dimensions, are corporate governance laws, United Nations Global Compact initiatives, and business continuity management standards. According to Keitel and Draghi in their 2005 paper, corporate social responsibility is related to the enterprise risk management in two ways. One, by providing intelligence about what those risks are, and two, by offering effective means to respond to them. In both cases, it leads to effectively managing stakeholder relationships by addressing environmental protection, human resources management, work health, safety, and local community relations, and supplier relations. One of the important relevant theories to my research, and which I have cited in my Chapter 2 in an article, New Approaches to CSR by Freeman and Bilamuni, which introduced the concept and application of the stakeholders theory. The theory affirms that those who lives are touched by a corporation, they hold the right and obligation to participate in directing the corporation. The theory describes those individuals and groups who have and who will be affected by and will have an impact on the company's actions. A conscious attempt to shift from three-tiered approach of corporate governance, which are the annual general assembly meetings, board of directors, and audit committees, all geared toward the maximization of the shareholder interests and directed to offering protection to other stakeholders such as environmental protection, human rights, employee protection, customer protection, vendor protection, and community welfare. The most important gaps identified in my research, and which will be the center and focus of my study, are as follows. The word risk historically is always associated with hazards, threats, harm, and negative terms. And it's considered to be negative. Risk management and environmental and social risk management provides opportunity to enhance reputation of companies and improves credibility and transparency of its reports and raise additional capital when required. None of the existing framework discusses the environmental and social risks and how they can counter operations, financial results, and create opportunities. The researchers are concerned that ERM practices are implemented on superficial level to meet corporate governance, regulatory requirements, and stakeholders' expectations, and most importantly, that no guidance in the existing frameworks for assessing, managing, and communicating the nature and extent of risks faced by the organization to stakeholders and whether these risks are appropriately managed. The key research questions which I'll be investigating are as follows. Is the company's environmental and social risk management and performance communicated to stakeholders through the company's official disclosures and reports? By reviewing the archival and current data to facilitate a comprehensive study of the company's risk management system, is the company's adopted framework, whether it's ISO or COSO or any other framework, being effectively utilized in the management of environmental and social risks? While many papers studied the link between environmental and social risks with the financial performance, my study will further contribute to knowledge by providing a link between environmental and social risks and risk assessments with disclosures and communications with stakeholders, which I've never done before. This was a very brief talk about my literature review. Thank you very much.